Welcome back to the Royal Family Podcast. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Austin. Good to be joined with you.
What are we talking about this week?
Of course, we're going to talk about the Royals.
Okay.
We are now 10 games in, 5-5. There's been some good, there's been some bad, but I'd really be curious to know kind of what's your take in this early season.
I don't know.
Yep.
What did you say about feet? That
So-
was before we started recording, my bad. 2 words. Michael Garcia has been hitting the brakes off the ball.
He has.
Who could have predicted this?
I think it was you. I really do.
That's correct. Now, he's getting some help in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
Jack is off to a good start.
Yes.
You know, he has some games where he's striking out 3-4 times. He chases a lot still, although he's down about 8% so far.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, he looks just so much better, and he's an above average hitter right now at the moment. No home runs yet, but I almost think that's preferable. He's figuring out how to get on base first, and once he continues to get on base at an above average clip, he's gonna start getting balls that he can smash.
I agree.
Or he's just gonna walk a lot, which is also pretty cool. Isaac Collins has looked really good behind the plate.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much in left field. It's a little confusing to me because all I looked at when he came here, well, first of all, I assumed we were getting a left fielder that could play defense because why would we not? And I looked at his defensive run value on Baseball Savant, slightly above average. I looked at his outs above average in left field, 6. Really, really good. So I was like, this is a really good left fielder. And then he's made a lot of mistakes. Like a lot of mistakes in left field. So I don't really know what that's about. I imagine just, learning a new field. It's even as the fences came in, it's still a lot bigger out there. So there's that. But then I looked at his defensive metrics on Fangraphs yesterday. And he actually had negative defensive WAR last year. So, a lot of that is arm. Mm-hmm. But there's some range things too. I don't really understand right now. Currently, his defensive value this year is sitting at a 1 percentile.
Oh, no.
On Baseball Savant, but that's obviously early. But yeah, I don't really know what to think about his defense yet. I think he can be a good defender. He's looked good at times. But his offense is great. I don't think people realize that he's one of our best hitters right now.
Yeah, he is. And I feel like, kind of like you mentioned with those mistakes, I think part of that, we have to remember this is a second-year player. Like you mentioned, getting used to a new park, and I know some of his mistakes also happen on the road, but I have seen some flashes from him defensively. But like you mentioned, things that aren't going to change, the arm strength, we're just going to have to kind of live with it. But I think what he brings on the offensive side is what I've seen is a young batter who is patient, typically will take good cuts. I did see him chase a little bit yesterday in our first game against the Guardians, but I think he's also a pretty speedy, athletic guy, so he'll be another good runner to have on the base pad. So I think let's just be patient with him, which I know we will be, and hopefully the defense catches up a bit.
In other news, the Royals are going to feed families this year. So far, we've had 4 home runs in the Sonic Slam inning. It's actually, it's a bit of a curse because the people that are getting the money are getting less because the pool can't fill up because we keep hitting them. Except for, of course, the Grand Slam that was hit by India that won the dude $25,000. Jonathan India, by the way.
Oh, man.
Is he back? As in back to his rookie year 4 years ago? I don't know.
We certainly hope so.
Yeah, it'd be great. He is someone that when he's doing bad, which he didn't start out very good, he'll go 4 games in a row, just insane, and then go back to being bad for like a week. So we are in the 4 games in a row period of him being insane. 2 home runs, a grand slam, like 9, 10 RBIs. If he's going to be an RBI guy this year, wow. He's perfect for the 5, 6, 7 position.
Yep.
So that's good to see, definitely. He's also one of 3 people on our team one of 3 qualified people on our team who have a positive base running value. Isbell isn't qualified, but I imagine he does too, which is great because not been very good at base running in the past necessarily.
Yeah,
and obviously he's still not stealing, but
yeah, I mean his over under, like if you were a betting man, would you say over under 0.5 stolen bases last season? If you want to talk about India's base running skills.
If I'm betting on last season
Yes.
that already happened?
Yes. So if you had to guess, I know you know the answer, but for the audience.
Under, but base running value actually doesn't have to do with stolen bases. It's separate. So
yeah,
get fucked.
But yeah, with India, I do wonder if maybe when he heard the fences are getting moved in, he was like, I'm back in Cincinnati again. Let's go. No, he's not. I know Cincinnati's still a lot smaller, but but that gave him a little bit of confidence.
Yeah, maybe. So all of that's going on. Starting pitching is killing it. Then there's the bullpen.
Plus Ursig, who should not be associated with the rest of the bullpen because I think he's done a pretty good job. But
well, he has a blown save already.
You know,
so.
But yesterday he closed it down. You know, he made up for it.
And by the way, I wanted to go in on the bullpen a little bit, but I'm kind of forgetting what I wrote. 1 second. No.
Oh, my bad. I just
Jesus Christ.
I didn't know what you were going for.
Appreciate that. Guaranteed the first one's going in. So some other people. Carter is doing pretty good, especially lately. Has 2 home runs already. Has a lot of RBIs so far. Vinny's struggling. Bobby. Bobby not being Bobby? Question mark.
Offensively, I have to say.
Yeah. You know, it's hard to know what exactly to say about that. What I will say is his expected batting average, as well as his XWOBA, which we won't get into, but important. It's very high. Like his expected batting average, for instance, is nearly 400. So like, it seems more like he's just gotten unlucky so far, but still it is jarring that it's been 10 games, he still doesn't have an extra base hit. That's a little jarring. Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you.
And you have to wonder if this team is just like the guys that played last year just play like they did the last 2 years, then are we like 8-2? Because Mikel's getting on base every single game. Literally. He has gotten on base every game. He should have Bobby and Vinny there to hit him in so often. So they're struggling, but if they're not struggling, this team is like way better. So it's just something to think about.
It's weird. I think over the last 3 seasons, if you combine everyone at their best, I feel like
Starling Marte has had a few hits, hasn't gotten many opportunities. I wish he'd get a little more, at least in terms of pinch hitting. Lane Thomas is on the team. Salvi, you know, he's here and there. He has hit 2 home runs. He's 100% gonna pass up George Brett's record this year. He's only 11 away, I think. But he looks like a declining veteran. You don't really know how a season's gonna go. It could be terrible. It could get a lot better. It could stay around the same, and then you got to put him in like the 6 or 7 spot. That's if he's like a batting 200, but hitting like 25 to 30 home runs again. So that's all good, but let's talk about the struggling bullpen a bit.
Yeah, which I do want to preface this by saying, even at the outset of the season, you did predict that this was a possibility, at least until we figure out the options and DFAs and whatnot. So
On air.
yes, and online.
Well, I did to an extent. I don't know if I had. Well, I mean, you could kind of see it coming, but I don't know if I had Carlos Estevez not being available for a month, Matt Strom being kind of terrible thus far. I definitely predicted that there was going to be some bad parts of this bullpen that we can't necessarily get rid of yet, but I thought the good parts would be doing a little more, good.
Yeah.
So it's a little concerning, but yes, we've talked about this. People think right now, Royals fans think the bullpen is bad. It's not wrong, but it's a little more complicated than that. Our bullpen has the potential at some point this year to be elite, in my opinion. As I've kind of looked at the pieces and seen how people are performing, I no longer think we can be the best bullpen, because I did think that at some point. But still, I think we can have an elite bullpen with some moving pieces. I mean, we've talked about it a bit, but again, as far as players without options, we have Falter, Mears, and Lang. As far as players who can refuse options, because of service time, we have Estevez, Schreiber, and Strom. We're gonna have to ride it out with some of these guys.
I do have a little bit of hope. I'm always optimistic that guys will figure things out, but at least there are guys in the minors that we can bring up to provide a little bit of juice if needed.
That's fair.
And bring Avila back to the bullpen. I don't want him starting right now, personally.
Good luck. Speaking, and those guys that we have in the minors, well, one of them is in the minors technically, but might have been up if he wasn't on the IL, is Steven Kolick, who I kind of expect them to implement into a 6-man rotation. And if they don't, I really wish they would. It would help so many of our starters that have had injury issues just all throughout their career, especially just last year. As you said, we have Avila, who is in the minors starting right now, but if it gets really bad, we might bring him up as a setup or length guy in our bullpen. Bergert is down there. We have him possibly as a length guy at some point, but more likely as a emergency starting pitcher if one of our guys goes down. And then Cruz just got called up, and besides his first little stint, he's looked really good. Although the first one was tough.
A little scary. But I do agree with you on the 6-man rotation. I think giving guys an extra day of rest could be huge, especially a guy like Lugo, who were like, what is going on with you last season? Is it fatigue? Is it injury? Then come to find out it was injury. So I think that's going to be huge to have a 6-man rotation. Hopefully Kolick can fill that gap when he comes back from injury, but time will tell.
So speaking of our bullpen, people have been talking about a specific problem, and maybe it's not brought up as much as it was a week ago, but we haven't recorded in that time, so I'm going to talk about it. It's the Carlos Estevez problem. And for context, Carlos Estevez came into a 2-0 game in the 9th in our second game of the year and gave up 6 runs. So people have been, talking about how they want him gone, how they want him to not be the closer, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, we ended up putting him on the IL because he took an 100-mile-per-hour ball off his ankle, but also to get his velo up. But let me just ask you a question. If your star closer is 5 to 7 miles per hour under his fastball average velocity, do you immediately put him into a high leverage save situation in the second game of the year for his first outing? If he clearly has no control over his fastball and starts putting people on base, do you not warm up anybody? If he loads the bases, do you not warm up anybody? If he ties the game with the bases loaded, do you still not warm anybody up? I don't understand how this is on Carlos when all of this stuff was public information. Not even just private to Q, public information. Q said after the game that they're likely not going to put him... They're likely going to put him in low leverage situations and build him up to high leverage. Great. You could have known that you should do that before that game started. So, no. This is not the Carlos Estevez problem. You want to know the Carlos Estevez problem? Who the fuck is this? That's not Carlos Estevez. To be fair, last year, if you searched any bullpen player's name on Google, Carlos Estevez's picture would come up. So it was going to be this hilarious segment, I promise, where I would search every player and Carlos Estevez would come up, and then I'd search Carlos Estevez and this guy would come up. But we only got part of that, and that's very unfortunate.
That's okay.
Speaking of coaches in Kansas City that can't be trusted, Austin, please.
So, in current thoughts this week, we're going to be talking about Chris Armas.
And what's current thoughts?
You know, that's where we kind of dive into the KC Kurrent women's soccer team, currently being repped by Tyler over here. And we kind of discuss what's going on in their season, what's going on in their lives over at CPKC Stadium. It's been a pretty rough go lately for the Kurrent, coming off of 3 losses in a row. But there's light. There's finally light at the end of the tunnel. We played this last week at home. It was a beautiful day. A little windy, but it was a beautiful day. Temwa Shawinga was back. She started.
I'm not aware of who that is. Is that like a good player? Or...
I think good is like not even, doesn't even do her justice.
Oh, okay.
You're talking about probably the fastest player in the league.
Well, not faster than Bobby Witt Jr.
It's funny you say that. We did a segment recently, and we did find out Temwa Shawinga's sprint speed was actually higher than Bobby Witt's on the base pads. So
you're saying Bobby should look out because his job might be in jeopardy with how he's hitting right now.
He really should. I mean, Temwa could pinch run for a lot of people. Just throwing that out there. But she was back, and her impact was huge. She only played 40 minutes, but in that time, she had an amazing assist. I know me and you have been kind of worried about the Kurrent's trajectory, given kind of how the team has looked. We've had a lot of injuries, of course, with Temwa and Lowe and a couple other players. But what was really concerning was these last 3 losses in a row didn't seem like we had a game plan. It seemed like we were just out there and playing and losing. But you were able to see pretty quickly the impact that Temwa Shawinga can have on a game, which, of course, it's easy for the coach, just put her in the lineup. But tactically speaking, something that I really enjoyed seeing was they dropped Lola Bonta from center of midfield into that defensive midfield position. I had mentioned in our previous video that I think that's the best thing to do, because with Claire Hutton gone and us not signing a true replacement for her, Lowe is the best player to fill that position. And one thing that surprised me, but I really enjoyed seeing, was they dropped Croy Bethune kind of into that central midfield. They almost set up a little bit of a what you would call a defensive block. And that's sort of when you have 2 midfielders, Croy and Lowe, setting just in front of the back line. So on one hand, you create a bit of more coverage for the defense that has kind of been leaking goals so far this season. But on the other hand, you have two players there who can pass and kind of help facilitate things in the midfield. And I think they both did an amazing job. When we got Croy Bethune, one of the major things I had mentioned is, of course, she's a very dynamic player, great attacker, but her passing is key. And if you look at that first goal we scored, it was Debinha's goal. Croy hit a ball across the field. Debinha tried to head it because she thought it was for her, but no, it was for Michelle Cooper. It was such a well-hit ball that it went over Debinha's head straight to Michelle. And it's a good thing that Debinha did jump for that ball because that slowed her down, allowed Temwa to run through the middle, and then Temwa had this amazing just back heel, set it up for Debinha perfectly, and they scored. So I think when you look at, number one, the effective Temwa, huge, but the tactical lineup and decisions by Chris Armas really made a huge difference to help us get that win.
Okay, well, I have a question for you. So this was supposed to be a segment where we talk about how bad Chris Armas has done. So what have you done?
Listen, man.
But okay, hold on. Let me ask this, a serious question.
Yeah.
Timwa being back, obviously a major help. Didn't really have a true number 9 when she was gone. Didn't have a lot of true midfielders necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
However, I would argue we should still be like at least middle of the pack team with the talent we had without Timwa. Yeah. So is there still a little concern with Chris Armas's coaching besides this last small sample size of a game?
Absolutely, yeah. And I know it sounds like I'm jumping the gun thinking, oh, everything's great and perfect and we're the way we were last season. We're definitely not. We're still 11th in the standings right now. It was one great game.
Well, tied for 8th.
Well, yeah, whatever it is. Are we really tied for it? Well, yeah. I guess I looked at the standings before they finished all the games.
We're tied for the last playoff spot, but we don't have the tiebreaker.
Gotcha. So tied for 8th right now. So obviously we're not where we were. And Chris Armas does deserve to be accountable for how we looked without Temwa. You can't have everything run through Temwa. She provided some juice. I think the players around her felt confident that we could win with her being on the field. But I really think that there still are some questions that need to be answered when it comes to defensively. We only allowed 1 goal. That's great. Can we keep a clean sheet for once? We haven't done that all year long. Every single one of our games so far this season, we've conceded the first goal. So playing from behind, that's never a good thing in soccer. So how can we build upon this win and get better, whether Temwa's on the field or not? Armas has to figure out, what are we going to do about that defensive mid position? Are we going to keep low there? If we do, we're going to lose her ability when it comes in the attacking midfield. Like you said, good small sample size with Temwa being back. Hopefully she can continue to ramp up and maintain her health, but it can't just be her. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm optimistic for the future, but Armas still has to figure more things out, more combinations, understanding how is Ali going to continue to build up into this team, and what are the best positions for the players we currently have. We do have a bit of a break, though, when it comes to the NWSL season for the Kurrent. They'll be starting the Teal Rising Cup tournament this week, so they've got a game against Corinthians.
Shout out the Kurrent, by the way, for inviting us to the Teal Rising Cup. That was really cool of them. Glad they're fans of the pod.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
So we'll be there on Thursday, kind of covering everything going on at CPKC. It should be an amazing atmosphere.
And we'll find the answers you want.
So if you have any questions you'd like to have answered,
we'll go straight up to the Blue Crew and we'll ask them everything.
But in other soccer news, we have another team, a men's team, Sporting KC. At the time we initially wanted to record, Sporting was on international break, and we hadn't played, so we hadn't won. we also had him lost, which was great news.
And despite our petition for an extension to that international break, yeah, they did play again.
Yeah, they played this past weekend against RSL, lost 3-1. So, oh yeah, and no Capita Kapemba yet. So we're still waiting on him to get into the team, but hopefully soon.
No cap.
No cap.
Now let's get to the only important segment in this podcast. I think Lane Thomas might be a no. Let's talk about Rex Hudler. Now, if you paid for Royals.tv, like I unfortunately did, you may notice some things are different. We have a new sideline reporter, Bridget Howard. Mm-hmm. We have a new addition and small-time, up-and-coming broadcaster Eric Hosmer. What's so funny?
Sorry, that's just so funny. Gotta pay the bills.
We no longer have the most annoying song you've ever heard in your entire life being played while they talk about the lineups that somehow is the melody is on one beat and then the drums are on a completely other beat. And if you have ADHD and also are a musician, it drives you mad. A lot of changes this year, as we are on like MLB Network essentially, or MLB TV. But another change you might have noticed is you don't hear a familiar voice in the first series. Instead, you hear Eric Hosmer making his debut for the broadcast team. You don't hear a familiar voice in the second series. Instead, you hear Jeremy Guthrie. Two guys I really like, by the way. At least one of them. And so Buzz, started buzzing around KC. Mm-hmm. People wanted to know, where's my beloved color commentator, Rex Hudler? The moon looks so beautiful tonight, and no one's here to comment on it. Where is he? He did end up commentating, but a few days before that, an announcement came out that Rex Hudler would only be doing a third of the games this year. Jeremy Guthrie would be doing a third. Eric Hosmer would be doing a third. Now, before I get into the nitty-gritty, did you know that like at least 50% of baseball broadcasts have 3 people? We don't need to get into that. I'm just saying. So apparently, according to a few different articles, one being the Kansas City Star, Rex Hudler is having his time cut in half essentially on the broadcast team. And at first I was like, okay, was this his decision? Was it the network's decision? Because Rex does a lot of charity work. I can't think of the specific nonprofit, but something that helps with, I think, kids with Down syndrome or people with Down syndrome. His son has Down syndrome, so that's very close to his heart. He does a lot of great work, and he's taking his extra time to really pour into that, and that's awesome. So I'm like, was it his decision to do less games? Apparently not, because Rex Hudler was quoted as saying something along the lines of, I told the network, as I do every year, that I wanted to do every game. I always want to do every game, blah, blah, blah. He loves his job, obviously. He loves baseball, obviously. So I was like, well, that's interesting. So this is a network decision. And, he was also quoted in that interview talking about the kind of the outcrying of fans missing him, wanting to know where he was. He was very touched by that. So blah, 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 blah. The situation is they are apparently, this is all context clues, but they're apparently pushing Rex Hudler out, giving him less time until eventually I would imagine they give him no time, if I had to guess. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, because how out of touch do you have to be to think that the people that watch you want that? I guarantee you the majority, I would say over 80% of people that watch pretty much every night or plan to watch every night that actually pay you the money for Royals.tv want Rex Hudler there. In fact, in the seasons where we lose like 100 games, which there's been a lot until recently, Rex Hudler is the reason that you tune in. Is he ridiculous sometimes? Yes, but that he's so funny. He's so self-aware about it. He's such a happy person. He's enjoying every second of what he's doing, no matter what the score is. And it is so entertaining and such a great person. People who have met him always talk about how nice he is, how caring he is. It's very clear that the people he broadcasts with also love him, so there's not like some rift that happened. It's just such an interesting decision to bring on two sleepy guys instead of the electricity you had. And like, I know this is a bit of a rant, but I looked at like Awful Announcing, which first of all is a terrible social media account that is just like a follow the drama thing. But they like rank the broadcast team each year, and every year we're pretty low. But like, I don't know why they would care about like national rating of your broadcast. Only people who watch the Royals broadcast are Royals fans. And the Royals fans love Rex Hudler. So it's upsetting. I hope enough people have been speaking out to the point where they reverse this decision, and either like if it needs to be just keep him at a third every year, that's fine. I'm more or less fine with that as long as they're not pushing him out. But and I don't want Jeremy or Eric to lose their job by any means, but there's no reason not to have him on the majority of the broadcast. He's just that good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a couple thoughts on it. First thing, I do wonder with us now having the Royals TV being under that MLB TV umbrella, how much of this is coming from the Royals versus the MLB broadcaster who kind of overtook it after the whole Bally Sports FanDuel network, whatever, blah, 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 blah.
It's from the Royals organization.
Okay.
Because they have their own, like, broadcast team.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's at a local level, which to me feels even worse because it's like they're trying to kind of curtain call Rex Hudler and kind of push him off into the sunset, which I really do hate. Like you mentioned, it seems very out of touch for where the fan base is. Rex Hudler is not your PC cookie cutter business suit and a tie color commentator. He isn't. That isn't in his nature. He is who he is. He's natural. He's not forced. Like you said, he makes it a lot of fun. To have a color commentator like that who paints outside of the boxes, obviously not senile, but, is able to kind of inject energy and life and just attract you and draw you into the game, whether it's a close game or whether one team's getting blown out, they still make it entertaining. They still make it fun. And to not allow Rex Hudler to go out on his own terms, this man has given his life to baseball. He had a long MLB career. He's done a lot of color commentary with different broadcasts, even in video games, whatever it might be. This man lives, breathes, he is baseball. So to take this opportunity away from him, I think is a pretty big injustice, not only for him, but also for Royals baseball fans.
At the end of the day, we need HUD to continue being a large part of this organization. We hope that is the way this swings. Obviously, there's definitely Royals fans that don't like him, but most of those people are people that don't watch that often and haven't, gotten to know who he is and seen his passion, I feel like. Yeah, But we love you, Hud. And we hope you continue to broadcast until you go out on your own on your own terms, or until he says the F slur on air or something. We don't just do this podcast. We have a YouTube channel where we do solo videos. We have all the social medias and whatnot. So keep an eye out, because we are going to be posting some more of us reacting to some HUD clips. And so far, there's already a lot to react to. So keep your eye out for that. But continuing to go with long-tenured, lovable Royals, let's talk about the second most tenured Royal, Kyle Isbell. What's he been doing so far this year?
Listen, man, I've been on this Izzy Train for a while. He brought me in with his defensive capabilities and just kind of commanding that center field position, making it his own.
And he kept you with that luscious beard.
You know, he did. You know, he's growing it on a little thicker this season, you know, and I think it's doing wonders for him at the plate. He has been lights out, of course, defensively, but offensively, hitting safely in all 10 games so far this season.
Hitting safely in all 8 games that he's played in.
All
for
8,
sure.
yeah, all 8, yeah. Ah, you caught me. Okay,
No worries.
it's okay.
But, like, obviously he's still struggling against lefties, yeah?
You know, so far, so good. He hasn't faced many lefties, but the ones he has, he's still getting the job done. So obviously we've kept him in against lefty starters, yeah? You know, I think it's the Quanalytics that block him from being an everyday player even against lefties.
Oh, well, that's okay. We didn't put anybody with under a .09 batting average, right?
I think this is where your issues with a certain new Royal come into play.
Lane Thomas is
Q has put in Lane Thomas in those situations to bat for Isbell against lefties.
Lane Renfroe Thomas, yes.
You know, he is giving you reminders, but at least Renfroe was good for the occasional home run. So far, Lane Thomas hasn't delivered at the plate. Of course, he's a player we're going to need throughout the season, whether it be as a defensive sub or pinch hitter, whatever it might be. But with Isbell on as good of a tear offensively, I don't know if there's another player on the team that has looked as good on offense as Isbell has. And I know that Isbell has struggled in the past against lefties, but given how much of a tear he's been on offensively this season, I really would like Q to have shown a little bit more faith to give him that opportunity to try his hand against lefties, see if he can't continue to generate that offense.
Let me piggyback on that. Let's talk about lefties in general, because I don't remember where I heard it. Probably somebody in the John Boy universe. But I heard somebody talk about the other day people platooning lefties and righties that are like young hitters. And I completely agree with what you're saying about Isbell, but I'm transitioning a bit. If you have a young lefty, like a rookie, like Carter, for example, and you use him as a platoon in the big leagues, how are you ever going to know if he's good or bad against lefties at this point in his career? And how is he ever going to get better against lefties if he's never facing lefties? Now, with Carter's recent resurgence, I say that like we're halfway through the season, but in the last couple games, maybe as he continues to hit, he does get put in those lefty lineups, but so far he hasn't. And it's just like, why not like see what he can do and like also give him the ability to get better? Because if you in his rookie season never let him face lefties, then like you are making it so that he's never going to be good against lefties for all the years that you have him, when there's potential that he could be good. He could learn. So that's just a caveat I wanted to get into. And it also leads me to somebody else who we pretty much know is bad at lefties, bad against lefties at this point in his career, and that's Vinny. But we're less talking about that. We're less talking about that and more talking about the fact that Vinny's start has been pretty horrendous. Hasn't hit a home run yet, which is neither here nor there, I guess, but also is, until recently, was hitting below 200. It's kind of scary because Vinny is the type of dude, he started this way last season, to be fair. Although we now know that last season was because they were trying to increase his bat speed and essentially change up his swing quite a bit. And eventually he just said, I don't think this is for me. I'm just going to go back to what I know. And then he finished great. But I just would, because that happened, I would highly doubt they're trying to do something like that again. So it's a little more scary this year. It's also scary because Vinny's the type of dude that when he goes through a drought, he just looks lost at the plate. Like, it looks hopeless. It looks like, has this guy played baseball before? So it's really scary. But something I've been reminded of, and a reason I'm not super worried for the long term, is Vinny is the type of dude who, when he's struggling, he will not just keep going up there and doing the same thing and expecting a different result. He will do anything in the meantime to help the team, to help change his approach so that he can like workshop what he's doing and seeing what works. The other night, he bunted for a base hit because they play him to pull and they play super far back. So he has that opportunity to get a base hit, and even though he's not a very good bunter, he took that opportunity. He got that base hit. The game before that, he was up in a very tough situation against a lefty with bases loaded in a pivotal situation of the game. And did he try to hit a grand slam? No. He knows how much he's struggling. He also knows how much he struggles in general against lefties. He did everything he could to go opposite field, and he did go opposite field, and he drove in 2 or 3 runs. It's that type of stuff that lets me know, okay, even if Vinny isn't necessarily top tier in terms of his ceiling on offense, in terms of like he definitely has the metrics of a guy who could very easily decline. I just know he will always do what he needs to get back. And so I'm not too worried about it.